When he realizes what he lost, it is often too late. You see, life has a way of presenting us with opportunities, with people, with relationships that are meant to elevate us, shape us, and make us better. But the problem lies in our inability to recognize their value in the moment. We become blinded by pride, distracted by temporary pleasures, or consumed by our own ambitions. We take for granted the very blessings that were sent to us, answers to prayers we once cried out in desperation. The heart that was loyal, the friend that stood by you when no one else would, the person who saw your flaws but chose to love you anyway. These are rare treasures in life. Yet so many lose these treasures not because they were stolen, but because they were neglected. You cannot neglect what matters most and expect it to remain. Everything in life, love, trust, loyalty, requires care, attention, and gratitude. But when he realizes what he lost, the regret sets in like a storm. It is then he sees the depth of what was freely given to him, but he no longer has access to it. He will remember the moments of kindness, the sacrifices made, the silent prayers offered on his behalf, and he will ask himself, how could I have let this slip through my hands? The answer is simple. What you fail to value, you lose. God has given each of us gifts in the form of people, but those gifts are not permanent unless we steward them well. When you do not honor the gift, it is taken away. And here's the truth: what he lost is now someone else's gain. When he sees that the one he undervalued has flourished, has grown stronger, has found peace in the arms of someone who cherishes them, that realization will cut deeper than any wound. It is a lesson for us all. Do not wait until it is gone to appreciate what you have. Do not wait until you are filled with regret to say the words you should have spoken, to show the love you should have given, to invest in the relationships that matter most. God entrusts us with people for a season, and how we handle that season determines whether it will last or whether it will be taken away. And for those who have been lost, for those who gave all they had and walked away empty-handed, understand this: you were not the loss. You were the blessing, the answer to a prayer. You were the gift that they could not recognize. Do not let their blindness define your worth. God sees your value, and he will place you in the care of someone who does too. Opportunities and blessings in life often come quietly, without fanfare or announcement. They don't always arrive in the grand ways we imagine, and because of this, we can easily overlook them. We pray for miracles, for breakthroughs, for help, and God answers, but not always in the way we expect. Sometimes his answers come through the people he places in our lives, through relationships that are meant to refine us, support us, and bring us closer to our purpose. Yet we often fail to recognize these blessings because we are distracted, focused on the wrong things, or caught up in our own pride. How many times have we been surrounded by love but dismissed it because it didn't fit our image of perfection? How many times have we ignored the quiet loyalty of someone who stood by us simply because their presence felt ordinary? The truth is, the extraordinary is often wrapped in the ordinary. The friend who listens, the partner who forgives, the mentor who guides us with patience, these are not small things. They are gifts from God designed to enrich our lives, but we only realize their value once they are gone. The tragedy is not in losing these blessings, it is in not appreciating them while they were there. It is in failing to see that the very thing we prayed for was standing right in front of us. We don't recognize the depth of their impact because we are too busy chasing after what glitters, neglecting what truly shines. And in that neglect, we miss out on the fullness of what God intended for us. Opportunities don't always come back. People are not infinite resources we can replace at will. Once the moment has passed, once the person has walked away, what remains is the haunting realization of what could have been. This is why it is so critical to have eyes that see and a heart that discerns, to recognize the blessings we have before they slip through our fingers. Life doesn't always give second chances. Neglect is one of the most dangerous attitudes we can have toward the blessings and relationships in our lives. What you neglect, you risk losing, because everything valuable in life requires intentional care. Love cannot thrive in the absence of attention. Trust cannot survive without consistency. Loyalty cannot endure when taken for granted. It's a universal principle, whether it's a relationship, a talent, or even an opportunity. Neglect will eventually lead to loss. Think of a garden. If you stop watering it, the flowers don't die all at once. At first they droop, they lose their color, and their fragrance fades. Eventually they wither completely, leaving nothing but dry, lifeless stems. That's what neglect does to the people and things in our lives. It slowly drains the vibrancy, the connection, and the beauty until there's nothing left. The tragedy is that by the time we notice the damage, it's often too late to repair. Neglect often comes from a sense of entitlement, the belief that the person will always be there, that the opportunity will wait for us, that the love we've taken for granted will endure no matter how little we pour into it. But the truth is, no one owes us permanence. Even the most patient heart will eventually grow weary of being overlooked. Even the most loyal person will walk away when they feel unvalued. You cannot expect to keep what you do not cherish. Relationships require effort, not only in grand gestures, but in the small daily acts of kindness, respect, and gratitude. Neglect is not always loud, it is often subtle. It's the unspoken words, the missed moments, the failure to show appreciation. Over time, these small oversights build walls where there once was connection, creating a distance that can no longer be bridged. The pain of losing something you could have kept is one of the deepest regrets a person can experience. When you realize that your neglect caused someone to leave, that your inaction allowed an opportunity to fade, you are left with nothing but the weight of what could have been. This is why we must guard our hearts against complacency. We must nurture what matters most, because the price of neglect is always loss. Loyal hearts, true friendships, and unconditional love are some of the rarest treasures we will ever encounter in life. They are not common, nor are they replaceable. In a world filled with fleeting connections and surface-level relationships, finding someone who truly understands you, supports you, and stays by your side through every storm is a profound gift. Yet the tragedy is that many people fail to see the value of such treasures until they no longer have them. A loyal heart is not just about presence, it's about unwavering commitment. It's about someone who chooses to stay, even when circumstances make it difficult, even when you are at your weakest and least lovable. True friendship goes beyond casual interactions. It is built on trust, honesty, and a shared sense of purpose. These are people who celebrate your successes without envy, who stand with you in failure without judgment, and who remind you of your worth when you begin to doubt it yourself. Unconditional love is perhaps the rarest treasure of all. It is love that sees every flaw, every mistake, and still chooses to stay. It is love that sacrifices without expecting anything in return, that forgives even when it is not easy. Such love is a reflection of God's love for us, and when we are given a glimpse of it through another person, it is a blessing that should never be taken lightly. Yet so often we take these treasures for granted. We assume that because they are always there, they will remain. We forget that even the strongest hearts can grow weary when they are not nurtured, that even the most giving souls can reach their limit when they are constantly overlooked. The reality is, rare treasures like these do not stay where they are not valued. You cannot ignore a loyal heart, neglect a true friend, or misuse unconditional love and expect them to remain unchanged. They may stay for a time, hoping for things to improve, but eventually they will realize their own worth and move on to where they are truly appreciated. And when they leave, the void they leave behind is immeasurable. If you are blessed enough to have someone in your life who fits these descriptions, do not wait to show them how much they mean to you. Acknowledge their presence, express your gratitude, and invest in the relationship. These treasures are gifts from God, and when you treat them as such, they have the potential to enrich your life beyond measure. But if you fail to see their value, you risk losing something that no amount of effort or regret can replace. When he realizes what he lost, regret becomes a heavy burden, one that weighs on the heart and soul with relentless force. Regret is not just a fleeting emotion, it is a storm that crashes into the mind, bringing with it the haunting echoes of missed opportunities, unspoken words, and actions that cannot be undone. It is in the silence of reflection, in the stillness after loss, that a person truly begins to comprehend the magnitude of what they let slip away. Regret is often a cruel teacher. It reveals with painful clarity what could have been, had there been more appreciation, more effort, or more understanding in the moment. It forces one to replay the times when love was extended but not reciprocated, when loyalty was offered but not honored, and when sacrifices were made but not acknowledged. These memories don't fade easily, they linger, serving as a reminder of what was lost and what will never be again. The moment of realization is often sharp and unexpected. It could be triggered by a memory, a song, or even seeing the person they lost thriving in the care of someone else. They remember the laughter, the conversations, the warmth of a heart that was once theirs, and they realize that what they dismissed as ordinary was extraordinary. They see the beauty in the sacrifices that were made for them, the patience that was shown, and the love that was given freely, and they are left to wonder why they didn't see it sooner. Regret is not just about losing someone or something, it's about losing a part of yourself. It's about realizing that your own actions or inactions caused harm, that your own blindness cost you a gift you can never replace. And the hardest part of regret is knowing that no amount of apology or effort can restore what has been lost. Once trust is broken, once a heart has moved on, there is no going back to what was. For many, regret becomes a teacher that arrives too late. It reveals what should have been obvious from the start, that relationships, love, and loyalty are precious and they must be cherished while they are present. But regret, while painful, can also serve as a warning to others. It reminds us to live with awareness, to act with gratitude, and to honor the people and blessings in our lives before they become memories we can only wish to relive. In the end, regret is a heavy price to pay for something that could have been avoided with a little more care, a little more humility, and a lot more love. It's a reminder to all of us that the time to appreciate what we have is now, before the storm of regret has a chance to settle in. The principle of stewardship is central to understanding how we are meant to handle the blessings and relationships in our lives. God does not give us anything simply to own. He entrusts us with people, opportunities, and resources to manage with care, wisdom, and responsibility. Everything we are given, from the love of another person to the time we have on this earth, is a sacred trust. How we handle these gifts reflects not only our character, but also our gratitude to the one who entrusted them to us. When it comes to relationships, stewardship means more than just being present. It requires nurturing, investing, and protecting the bond we share with others. A partner's love, a friend's loyalty, or a mentor's guidance is not something we are entitled to. It's something we are given the privilege to steward. But stewardship is not passive. It demands effort, intention, and accountability. It means asking ourselves, am I doing my part to honor what I've been given? Am I showing gratitude through my actions, not just my words? The failure to steward a relationship well often stems from complacency or a sense of entitlement. We start to believe that the people in our lives will always be there, no matter how little we give in return. We assume that their love or loyalty is unconditional to the point of enduring neglect, misunderstanding, or mistreatment. But that is not how stewardship works. God's blessings are not designed to stay where they are not valued. Just as He entrusts us with good things, He can also take them away if we fail to appreciate and care for them. Consider a farmer who is given fertile land. If the farmer neglects to plant seeds, water the soil, or remove weeds, the land will not produce anything of value. Over time, it will grow barren, and the opportunity for a harvest will be lost. Relationships are much the same. They require cultivation, constant acts of kindness, consistent communication, and a willingness to put in the effort even when it feels inconvenient. Stewardship means recognizing that the time and energy we pour into a relationship are not sacrifices, but investments in something precious. When we fail to be good stewards, the loss we experience is not a punishment, but a consequence of our own actions. God cannot entrust us with more if we mishandle what we already have. He cannot bless us with lasting love if we fail to honor the love we are given. He cannot bring growth to a relationship that we neglect. Stewardship is not just about keeping what we have, it is about ensuring that what we are given flourishes under our care. The pain of losing a blessing because of poor stewardship is profound, but it also serves as a lesson. It reminds us that nothing is truly ours, it is all on loan from God. And with every gift, He asks us, what will you do with what I have given you? The answer to that question determines not only the longevity of our blessings, but also the depth of our gratitude and the strength of our character. Stewardship is an act of worship, a way of honoring God by honoring what He has entrusted to us. When we understand this, we begin to see every relationship, every opportunity, and every moment as a sacred responsibility. God has a way of bringing clarity through loss, of allowing separation to reveal what was hidden, undervalued, or misunderstood. Sometimes it is only when someone is gone that the scales fall from our eyes and we truly begin to understand their worth. What seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary in retrospect. The acts of kindness, the patience, the loyalty, all the things that were once dismissed as small or insignificant take on a new and profound meaning. This is the bittersweet power of hindsight. It magnifies what we failed to see when it was right in front of us. When you lose someone who genuinely cared for you, the world doesn't immediately feel different. At first, there's denial of belief that life will continue as it always has, but slowly, reality begins to settle in. You start noticing the absence of their presence in the little things, the silence where laughter used to fill the room, the emptiness of a routine that once included them, the absence of their support during moments of need. These voids become glaring reminders of what you had but failed to cherish. God often uses these moments of loss to open our spiritual eyes. It is as if He allows us to see with painful clarity the depth of the blessings we overlooked. What was once taken for granted now feels irreplaceable. The warmth of their encouragement, the strength of their forgiveness, the quiet sacrifices they made, all these things come rushing back. But now they are out of reach. It is in this space of reflection that we realize the true cost of our neglect, the price of our blindness. Regret amplifies this clarity, making it impossible to ignore the impact of our choices. It's not just about losing someone, it's about losing a part of ourselves. The things we once dismissed as trivial now seem monumental. The person we once underestimated now seems exceptional. And the opportunities we once ignored now seem like gifts we will never find again. This newfound awareness often brings with it a deep sorrow, but it also carries a lesson that cannot be forgotten. Value is not always obvious, and once it is lost, it is rarely recoverable. God, in His wisdom, sometimes allows people to leave our lives as a form of correction. He knows that until we feel the weight of their absence, we won't fully appreciate their presence. This separation is not meant to punish, but to teach. It is an opportunity for growth, a chance to realign our hearts and minds with His principles of gratitude and stewardship. Through loss, we learn to see the world and the people in it with greater clarity. We become more attentive to the blessings we still have, more mindful of the love and loyalty that remain in our lives. But this clarity comes at a cost. The pain of realizing what you've lost is a reminder that appreciation must be practiced in the present, not in retrospect. It challenges us to ask, what am I overlooking right now? Who in my life deserves more gratitude, more effort, more love? Because the truth is, the value of a person or a relationship does not increase with their absence. It was always there. It is our perception that changes, our awareness that sharpens, but only after it's too late to make amends. This is why God calls us to walk in humility and gratitude. He wants us to see the worth of His gifts before they are gone, to treat the people in our lives as the treasures they are, and to live each day with eyes wide open to the blessings around us. When clarity comes after loss, it is a painful teacher, but it also offers a second chance not to regain what was lost, but to ensure we never make the same mistake again. Healing begins when someone who was undervalued chooses to walk away and embrace their worth. For too long, they may have endured neglect, disrespect, or indifference, holding on to the hope that things would change, that the person they cared for would finally see their value. But there comes a point when the weight of unreciprocated love becomes too much to bear, and they make the brave decision to let go, not out of bitterness, but out of a recognition that their heart deserves better. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of strength. It takes courage to leave behind something familiar, even when it no longer serves you. It takes faith to trust that God has something greater in store, even when the path ahead is uncertain. And it takes self-respect to refuse to stay in a place where you are not valued, even if it means walking alone for a while. This act of letting go is often the first step toward healing, a step that allows the heart to begin mending and the soul to find peace. When they walk away, they are no longer carrying the burden of trying to prove their worth to someone who refuses to see it. They stop chasing approval and start embracing the truth that their value is not determined by how others treat them, but by how God created them. This realization is liberating. It allows them to redirect their energy towards self-discovery and growth, to rebuild their confidence, and to open their heart to the possibility of relationships that honor and uplift them. For the one who let them go, this is often the moment when the full weight of their mistake begins to sink in. They start to see what they have lost, not just a person, but a source of love, loyalty, and strength that was uniquely theirs. They realize that the one who walked away was not a liability, but a blessing, not a hindrance, but a partner who wanted to see them succeed. And now that blessing has moved on, leaving behind a void that cannot be filled by anyone else. As the one who walked away begins to heal, their light shines even brighter. They become a testament to the power of self-worth and the resilience of the human spirit. Their growth, joy, and confidence become undeniable evidence of what was overlooked. They may not seek to prove anything to the person who failed to value them, but their very existence becomes a reminder of what was lost, a treasure that was mishandled, a blessing that was taken for granted. God uses these moments of healing and growth to write a new chapter in their lives. He brings new opportunities, new relationships, and new beginnings that are far better than anything they left behind. He honors their courage to walk away by leading them into environments where they are celebrated, not tolerated. This transformation is not just a journey of healing, but also a testimony to others who are struggling to let go of situations that no longer honor their worth. Walking away is not the end, it is the beginning of something greater. It is an act of trust in God's plan, a declaration of self-love, and a commitment to living in alignment with His purpose. And as they heal, they inspire others to recognize their own worth, to step out of toxic patterns, and to embrace the life God intended for them. For in the act of walking away, they do not just leave behind what is holding them back, they step into the freedom and fullness of their God-given identity. When someone realizes the value of what they've lost, it often marks the beginning of their deepest regret and self-reflection. It's a painful process of understanding that what they took for granted was never theirs to possess in such a careless manner. What they failed to cherish, to protect, and to nurture now stands as a distant memory, something they can no longer grasp or hold on to. They are left with the weight of realization, the ache of knowing that their lack of recognition and appreciation has cost them something irreplaceable. The regret they feel is not just about missing out on a relationship, a partnership, or an opportunity. It is a profound sorrow over their inability to see the worth of the person or the blessing until it was too late. The moment they grasp the enormity of their loss, they often realize that they were too busy focusing on their own needs, too wrapped up in their own issues, or too distracted by the temporary things of life to understand the permanence and depth of the connection they once had. This regret isn't simply about losing someone, it's about losing a part of themselves. It's the loss of their own opportunity for growth, for mutual support, for partnership, and for love. But regret is also a painful but necessary teacher. It opens their eyes to the consequences of their actions or inactions. They are forced to confront the truth about how they mismanaged the relationship, how their negligence, selfishness, or lack of effort led to the erosion of something beautiful. The person they took for granted, the love they failed to protect, the trust they allowed to wither away was something far greater than they ever realized. But now, the reality of this loss has them questioning their past choices, wondering if they could have done things differently. Could they have been more attentive, more understanding, more present? The regret becomes a constant companion, forcing them to reevaluate everything they once thought they knew. It is in this moment of realization that they begin to ask themselves, what kind of person was I when I had them in my life? What was it that I was unwilling to see? Why didn't I recognize the treasure that was right in front of me? They begin to understand that true value isn't always visible on the surface. It's often revealed through consistent care, through sacrifice, through respect, and through the ways we choose to treat others. And when they finally recognize this truth, they are left with the painful weight of knowing that they can never go back to undo the damage. God, however, does not allow regret to define the end of a person's story. He uses this season of sorrow to help them rebuild. While regret serves as a reminder of past mistakes, it can also be a catalyst for growth. It can lead them to a place where they begin to understand what it truly means to value others, what it means to offer real love, to give selflessly, and to put others' needs above their own. It's in this season of reflection and sorrow that they are often forced to examine their own hearts and motives. They are compelled to ask, how can I be better? How can I grow from this experience? What can I learn from the mistake I made? This period of regret and reflection is also the moment when they are called to turn their regret into action. True growth doesn't happen through simply feeling sorry for oneself. It requires a decision to change. God allows us to experience regret not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to realign ourselves with His values, to transform our hearts, and to restore what was broken. Through the pain of regret, they begin to develop the character traits they once lacked: patience, humility, empathy, and understanding. They learn that the greatest gift they can give is not simply their presence, but their attentiveness, their respect, and their willingness to honor those they love. For the one who has realized what they lost, the path forward is not easy. The pain of regret lingers, and the opportunity to make amends may no longer exist. But this season of sorrow is not without purpose. God uses it to refine them, to mold them into a person who understands the true value of relationships, who knows the importance of nurturing the bonds they have, and who will never again take for granted the love, loyalty, and support that others freely offer. While they may not be able to undo the past, they can move forward with a heart-transformed one that seeks to live with gratitude, care, and intentionality in all their relationships. And in doing so, they will honor those they once lost, not by regret, but by living in a way that demonstrates the lessons learned from that loss. There comes a point when the realization of what was lost goes beyond mere regret and turns into an awakening, a deeper understanding of self and of what is truly important in life. In that moment of clarity, the person who has suffered this loss begins to comprehend that not only have they lost someone special, but they have also lost a vital part of themselves. When the person who was once a constant presence is no longer around, it exposes the truth about what was taken for granted: the love, the companionship, the loyalty, the understanding, the effort. It forces them to confront the fact that they were so focused on other things, so distracted by the noise of the world, that they failed to recognize the treasure they had until it was no longer in their grasp. At first, the pain may feel overwhelming. The absence of that person is felt in every corner of life, in the quiet moments when their voice used to be a source of comfort, in the empty spaces where their presence once brought joy. The person begins to realize that the life they built, the routine they followed, the identity they created, all had a part that was shaped and molded by this individual. Without them, everything seems incomplete. It's as if a piece of the puzzle is missing and the picture no longer makes sense. But in that sense of loss, there is a powerful lesson. What seemed to be a loss of someone external is actually the loss of a reflection of themselves, of their own neglect, of their own failure to appreciate the people and blessings in their lives. This realization doesn't come with shame or guilt. It comes with clarity, as they understand the fullness of what they had and how it intertwined with who they were. This is where growth begins. In that moment, they are called to look inward and assess why they couldn't see the worth of what they had before. It's not about pointing fingers at the other person or blaming them for walking away. It's about taking responsibility for their own lack of awareness, their own mismanagement of something valuable. They come to terms with the fact that their inability to recognize the value of what was right in front of them has now led them to this moment of loss. And they understand that this will forever change the way they approach relationships and opportunities moving forward. But this moment of awareness is not only about reflecting on the past, it is about embracing the transformative power of this experience. When someone truly understands what they lost, it becomes an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to evolve. The key to moving forward from this realization is to not let the pain of loss harden the heart, but rather to allow it to soften and open them to greater wisdom. They must ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I now treat others with the value they deserve? How can I cherish what I have today? It's in that space of reflection that they realize that the only thing they can do with their regret is to use it to fuel positive change in their own lives. The loss, while painful, has the potential to make them a better person, someone who recognizes the true worth of others and who is willing to fight to keep the things they value. This awareness also forces them to evaluate the nature of their own worth. They begin to see that if they were capable of taking someone's love, loyalty, and care for granted, it may be because they hadn't fully recognized the value they themselves carry. Perhaps they too had been living in a space where their own identity was shaped by external validation rather than by an internal recognition of who they truly are in God's eyes. It becomes clear that their journey of growth doesn't just involve appreciating others more, but also appreciating themselves. Understanding the depth of what they lost becomes a path to self-discovery, a path that forces them to reclaim their sense of self-worth, to see themselves as valuable, and to recognize that they too deserve to be loved, respected, and cared for in the same way they are now able to understand others deserve. In the end, this awakening changes how they approach future relationships, opportunities, and even themselves. They move forward with a new perspective, one that doesn't take love, loyalty, or relationships for granted. They don't let life pass them by without taking a moment to pause, appreciate, and invest in the people and things that truly matter. This deep realization becomes the seed of transformation, a seed that, once nurtured, will bear fruit in how they treat the people who come into their lives in the future. And while they may never fully erase the ache of what was lost, they use that pain as a powerful motivator to ensure that they never make the same mistake again. This is how loss becomes a catalyst for growth, by allowing it to awaken something inside that leads to greater understanding, deeper connection, and a more meaningful way of living. When someone comes to the painful realization of what they've lost, it often leads to a profound self-reckoning, a moment when they not only reflect on the void left by the person they took for granted, but they also begin to understand their own internal struggle and fears that cause them to behave in such a way. It's a moment where the illusion of control and certainty falls apart, and they are forced to face the raw truth about themselves. The truth is this: many times people don't fully appreciate the value of something until it is no longer in their possession. And this stems from deeper emotional and psychological barriers. It is within these moments of loss that someone can see the roots of their own fear, pride, and insecurity factors that often cloud their judgment and prevent them from seeing the beauty and worth of the relationships or opportunities before them. This realization isn't just about regretting the absence of the person, it's about uncovering the layers of emotional resistance that led them to push that person away in the first place. They start to understand that beneath the surface, they were afraid of vulnerability, afraid of truly opening their heart, afraid of committing fully, and perhaps even afraid of receiving love because they didn't feel worthy of it. These fears often manifest as behaviors that are dismissive, emotionally distant, or self-sabotaging, but it's only in the aftermath of loss that these patterns become painfully obvious. When they come to grips with this, they begin to see how their actions were a defense mechanism against the pain they feared. They couldn't handle the pain of getting too close, of trusting too deeply, and of being hurt. They realized that the relationship or connection that was once in their life may have been too close for comfort, because it required them to confront their own vulnerabilities, and they weren't ready for that. This fear of vulnerability causes them to retreat into themselves, pushing away the very people who could have been their greatest support system. Instead of leaning in and nurturing the relationship, they pulled away because deep down they felt unworthy or undeserving of that closeness. But this painful truth also gives them the opportunity for healing. It is not only an opportunity to reflect on past mistakes, but it is also an opportunity to heal from the internal wounds that caused them to behave in a way that they now regret. For many people, the inability to cherish or hold on to something valuable is deeply tied to unresolved issues from the past, perhaps a history of abandonment, rejection, or betrayal that shaped their ability to trust or connect with others. These emotional scars, whether conscious or unconscious, influence their interactions, and it is only when they truly understand their own fears and insecurities that they can begin to heal. This process of healing is not instantaneous. It's a gradual journey where they must confront the pain of their past pain that led them to build walls around their heart, to doubt their own worth, and to question the motives of others. But as they unpack these layers, they also discover their own strength and resilience. They come to realize that they are not defined by the mistakes they've made or the relationships they've lost, but by their ability to grow and change. Through this self-awareness, they begin to see that the very thing they feared, vulnerability, can become their greatest strength. They learn that true strength isn't in building walls around their heart, but in tearing those walls down and allowing love and connection to flow freely, even at the risk of being hurt. It is in the realization of their own fear and self-doubt that they begin to make peace with the past. They come to understand that it wasn't just about the person they lost, it was about their own struggle to believe in their worth, to believe that they deserved to be loved, to believe that they were worthy of the very thing they let slip away. And in this understanding, they find the power to forgive themselves, to move past the shame of what they lost, and to approach future relationships and opportunities with a new sense of openness and vulnerability. They now realize that the key to true connection lies not in their ability to control the outcome, but in their willingness to fully engage in the process of love, trust, and mutual respect. So this realization isn't just about regret, it is about transformation. It is about learning to love oneself, to trust again, and to create relationships built on authentic connection. The person who has come to understand the depth of their loss now has the tools to approach life with a new perspective, a perspective where fear no longer controls their actions and where they are open to receiving and giving love in its truest form. It is through this process of self-discovery and emotional healing that they can finally move forward with the wisdom to cherish the relationships they still have and to attract the love and support they truly deserve. And in this journey of healing, they begin to realize that they haven't truly lost everything. They have gained the most important thing of all, the knowledge and strength to never repeat the same mistakes again. In conclusion, the realization of what we have lost is not a moment of defeat, but a powerful catalyst for growth. It's a wake-up call that forces us to confront not only the absence of what we once held dear, but also the deeper truths within ourselves, the fears, insecurities, and emotional walls that led us to take it for granted. This moment of reflection, painful as it may be, provides the opportunity for profound healing and transformation. It opens the door to self-awareness, self-forgiveness, and ultimately self-love. It teaches us that our worth is not determined by past mistakes, but by our ability to learn, grow, and move forward with a renewed sense of purpose and a heart ready to love without reservation. What we have lost is not gone forever. It has shaped us. It has taught us. And now it is our responsibility to use that knowledge to build a better future. Through this journey, we come to realize that true strength lies not in holding on to the past, but in letting go, embracing the lessons learned, and having the courage to move forward with a heart that understands the value of love, connection, and vulnerability. And as we heal, we make room for the new blessings that life has in store for us, knowing that we are now prepared to embrace them with wisdom, gratitude, and an open heart. There is a power in silence that many fail to recognize. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom in action. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary conflict, when you do not fight every battle with words, you allow truth to reveal itself. It is not always your responsibility to expose deception, manipulation, or wrongdoing. Sometimes all you need to do is remain silent and let guilt speak for itself. People who operate in deceit expect a reaction from you. They expect you to argue, to defend yourself, to prove your innocence. But silence frustrates them because it removes their ability to manipulate the narrative. When you do not respond to false accusations, when you do not chase after those who have misunderstood you, you force their own actions to be examined. And guilt, when left alone, will always rise to the surface. Consider this. When someone knows they are innocent, they do not feel the need to over-explain. But when someone carries guilt, they attempt to justify, to shift blame, to create distractions. Your silence does not mean you are unaware. It means you are wise enough to know that truth does not need to be defended. The truth will stand on its own. Many people will wrong you in life. Some will betray your trust. Some will slander your name, and some will try to bring you down simply because they cannot handle the light within you. But when you choose silence instead of retaliation, you give them no fuel to continue their deception. The more they talk, the more they expose themselves. There are those who will walk away from you thinking you will chase after them. But when you remain still, when you do not run to clear the air, they are forced to sit with their own actions. Their conscience will not let them rest. Their guilt will whisper to them in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Silence is a test. It reveals who is truly convicted and who is just pretending. It separates those who have a sincere heart from those who only seek to manipulate. When you are falsely accused, remain silent and watch. Those who carry truth will eventually be vindicated, and those who carry guilt will eventually be exposed. Never let the world pressure you into defending yourself against lies. Stand in the integrity of your character and let time be the judge. The truth is like a seed. It does not need to be explained. It only needs time to grow. Those who are guilty will reveal themselves without you ever saying a word. Your silence is not a loss. It is a strategy. It is wisdom. It is power. Silence is wisdom in action. It is the ability to discern when to speak and when to withhold words. Many believe that power is in the loudest voice, in the ability to argue, to defend, to counter every accusation. But true strength is found in restraint. When you remain silent in the face of deception, manipulation, or falsehood, you demonstrate a level of control that few possess. It takes wisdom to understand that not every battle is worth fighting with words. Some conflicts are meant to be observed, not engaged in. There are those who will twist your words, misinterpret your intentions, and try to pull you into unnecessary disputes. When you engage with them, you give them the opportunity to drag you into their web of confusion. But when you remain silent, you strip them of that power. You show that you are not easily provoked, that your peace is not dictated by their actions. Silence is not ignorance, it is strategy. It is knowing that words once spoken cannot be taken back. It is choosing not to lower yourself to the level of those who seek to bait you into unnecessary arguments. When you are quiet, you are observing. You are analyzing. You are allowing time to work on your behalf. People who operate in deception often expose themselves when they no longer have someone to argue with. They become restless, uneasy, desperate to justify their position. In their efforts to prove themselves right, they reveal their own guilt. There is wisdom in knowing when silence speaks louder than words. Not everything requires your response. Not every accusation needs your defense. Sometimes silence says everything that needs to be said. It is in the stillness that truth begins to rise, that clarity begins to settle, and that those who are guilty begin to unravel under the weight of their own deception. Guilt reveals itself over time. There is no need to chase after those who have wronged you, no need to argue with those who twist the truth, and no need to fight battles that time itself will settle. When someone carries guilt, it is not something that can be hidden forever. No matter how well they mask their actions with confidence, no matter how much they try to justify themselves, it lingers in the mind, it disturbs the heart, and it weighs heavily on the soul. A guilty person often speaks more than necessary. They feel an unshakable need to explain, to shift blame, to convince others that they are not at fault. But the more they speak, the more their own words contradict them. They build stories, they manipulate details, they create illusions. Yet in doing so, they reveal the very truth they seek to conceal. The one who remains silent, on the other hand, gives no fuel to the fire. Without a response to battle against, the guilty are left alone with their own conscience. and that is a burden they cannot escape. Truth does not need to fight for recognition. It does not need constant repetition to remain valid. It stands firm, unshaken, waiting for its moment to emerge. Lies, however, require maintenance. They need effort, reinforcement, and constant justification to keep them alive. A guilty person must continuously alter their story, adjust their version of events, and seek out new ways to maintain control. But over time, inconsistencies appear. The weight of deception becomes too heavy to carry. Silence forces guilt into the open. It removes distractions, clears the noise, and allows time to expose what needs to be seen. It is not your responsibility to prove who is right and who is wrong. Your silence is not a sign of defeat. It is the patience that allows guilt to do its work. And when the time comes, what has been hidden will be revealed, not because you fought to expose it, but because guilt cannot remain buried forever. Silence frustrates manipulators. Those who operate in deception thrive on control. They seek to pull you into their web of manipulation, to provoke a reaction, to dictate how you respond. Their greatest weapon is not just their words, but the emotions they stir within you. They know that if they can get you to react, they can shift the focus away from their own guilt and place the attention on your response. But when you refuse to engage, when you choose silence over unnecessary conflict, you disrupt their entire strategy. Manipulators want you to defend yourself because it gives them more material to twist and distort. They want you to argue so they can turn the narrative in their favor. They want you to fight back so they can play the victim. But silence strips them of this power. It leaves them talking to themselves, scrambling for a way to maintain control. When you do not respond to their accusations, when you do not chase after them for clarity, when you do not engage in their tactics, they are left to deal with the weight of their own action. A manipulator cannot stand silence because it forces them to sit with the reality they have tried to escape. It denies them the reaction they were counting on. They expect you to fight, to explain, to beg for understanding. But when you remain still, their frustration grows. They start revealing their own intentions without realizing it. They begin to push harder, talk louder, and make even greater mistakes in their desperation to regain control. Silence is not just a lack of words, it is an active disruption of manipulation. It exposes who truly has power in the situation. The person who is calm, composed, and unshaken is the one in control. The person who is desperate for a reaction, who continues to press for a response, is the one who is losing control. When you refuse to play the game, when you deny them the reaction they seek, you force them to face themselves. And nothing is more uncomfortable for a manipulator than being left alone with their own truth. Truth does not need defense. It stands firm, unmoved by accusations, unshaken by lies, untouched by manipulation. When you know the truth, when you walk in integrity, there is no need to constantly explain yourself or prove your innocence. Truth speaks for itself. It may not always be recognized immediately, but it does not change to fit opinions, nor does it require constant justification to remain valid. It simply is. Those who operate in deception feel an urgency to defend themselves because lies need maintenance. Falsehood demands effort, requires reinforcement, and must be continuously adjusted to remain believable. But truth remains steady. It does not waver under pressure. It does not need to shout to be heard. It does not need approval to exist. This is why the one who is right can remain silent while the guilty feel the need to keep talking. The more a lie is spoken, the more it exposes itself, while the truth, even in silence, remains evident to those with discernment. When you refuse to engage in senseless debates, when you do not waste energy trying to convince those who have already made up their minds, you are demonstrating confidence in the truth. Defending yourself against false accusations is often a trap. It gives manipulators what they want: an argument, a reason to twist your words, an opportunity to create more confusion. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to fight battles that do not require your sword, you force the truth to reveal itself over time. People who are grounded in truth do not live in anxiety over being misunderstood. They do not chase after every rumor, nor do they feel the need to explain themselves to those who are determined to believe otherwise. Truth always rises. It may take time, but it will come forth in its own strength. And when it does, those who stood on lies will crumble under the weight of their own deception. The truth does not need to be defended. It only needs to be lived. The guilty over-explain. Those who have done wrong often feel an uncontrollable need to justify themselves. They cannot sit in silence because silence forces them to confront the reality of their actions. Instead, they speak excessively, trying to construct a version of events that removes their accountability. But in their attempt to prove their innocence, they reveal the very guilt they are trying to hide. A person who is innocent does not feel the need to convince others. They are at peace because they know the truth will stand on its own. But a guilty person, knowing that the truth is against them, works tirelessly to create an illusion. They rehearse their words, they craft stories, they make excuses, and they repeat themselves over and over, hoping that their excessive explanations will mask their wrongdoing. But the more they speak, the more inconsistencies appear. Their details begin to shift, their tone becomes defensive, and their desperation grows evident. When someone is truly innocent, their confidence is in their actions, not in how well they can explain themselves. They do not feel compelled to argue, nor do they waste energy trying to change the minds of those who refuse to see the truth. But guilt is restless. It demands attention. It seeks validation. It craves reassurance. This is why the guilty cannot stop talking. They are not speaking to prove anything to others. They are speaking to convince themselves. They hope that if they say it enough times, they might start believing their own deception. Silence, however, is powerful. When you refuse to engage, when you do not entertain unnecessary explanations, you allow guilt to do its own work. A guilty person left alone with their thoughts will begin to unravel. Their conscience will torment them. Their words will betray them, and their own actions will expose them. They may talk louder, but their volume does not equal truth. The more they try to explain, the more they confirm what they are trying to deny. And in the end, their own words will be the evidence against them. Silence forces self-reflection. When you refuse to respond to false accusations, manipulation, or deceit, you leave the guilty alone with their own conscience. And nothing is more tormenting to a person who has done wrong than being left to wrestle with their own thoughts. They may try to escape accountability by shifting blame, by stirring up confusion, by seeking validation from others. But when there is no argument to fuel their distractions, they are forced to sit in the presence of their own wrongdoing. The weight of guilt does not need an external judge. It is a fire that burns within, a voice that speaks in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. This is why those who know they are wrong desperately seek engagement. They want a fight, they want a reaction, they want anything that will silence the voice of conviction within them. But when they are met with silence, that voice grows louder. It follows them when they are alone, it disrupts their peace, and it reminds them of the truth they are trying to suppress. People often believe that silence is a sign of weakness, but in reality, it is a mirror. It forces a person to look at themselves without distraction. When you do not engage in their chaos, they are left alone with the consequences of their own choices. They can no longer point fingers. They can no longer create confusion, and they can no longer use you as an excuse for their behavior. The only thing left is the truth they have been running from. A guilty person cannot outrun their own mind. They may act as if they feel no remorse, but deep inside, silence has already begun its work. It strips away the noise, it removes the justifications, and it confronts them with the reality they have tried to avoid. And the longer they are left in that silence, the heavier their guilt becomes. They may try to drown it out with distractions, with lies, with validation from others. But silence is relentless. It does not argue, it does not fight, and yet it is the most powerful force in exposing the truth. Silence exposes insecurity. The guilty cannot stand being ignored because their confidence is built on external validation. They rely on the approval, the reactions, and the attention of others to uphold their false narratives. When you refuse to respond, when you do not give them the reaction they seek, you remove their foundation. You force them to sit with the reality that their words and actions are not as powerful as they believe. Insecurity thrives on control. Those who manipulate, deceive, or betray others often do so because they are deeply insecure. They fear being exposed, they fear being questioned, and they fear being powerless. So they create chaos, they seek constant validation, and they talk endlessly to defend themselves. But silence denies them control. It takes away their ability to dictate the conversation. It forces them to deal with their own internal turmoil. When someone is truly secure in themselves, they do not need to chase after explanations or approval. They are not shaken by lies, nor do they crumble under false accusations. They stand firm in the truth, knowing that time will reveal everything. But those who are insecure cannot handle this kind of strength. They need constant reassurance. They need to be believed. They need to be heard. And when they are met with silence, their own insecurities consume them. The more desperate they become for a response, the more obvious their weakness becomes. They may start reaching out in different ways, trying to provoke you, trying to manipulate others into defending them, or trying to create a false narrative to regain control. But the harder they try, the more they reveal the truth about themselves. Silence strips away their illusions. It removes their ability to hide behind words. It forces them to face their deepest fear, that without control over others, they have no power at all. Silence exposes contradictions. A liar must remember every word they have spoken, every false detail they have woven into their deception. They must keep track of their stories, adjust their responses, and control the narrative to keep their illusion intact. But truth requires no maintenance. It remains steady, unshaken, and consistent. When you choose silence, when you refuse to engage in their games, you remove their ability to manipulate the conversation. They are left to carry the weight of their own words, and under that pressure, their inconsistencies begin to surface. A dishonest person thrives on confrontation because it gives them an opportunity to distort reality. They use emotional tactics, they exaggerate details, they twist words to make themselves appear innocent. But when they are met with silence, when there is no argument to manipulate, they must stand on their own words. And this is where they begin to unravel. The more they speak, the more their version of events changes. The gaps in their lies become wider, and those who once believed them begin to notice the discrepancies. People who tell the truth do not struggle to remain consistent because truth does not change. It does not require effort to maintain, nor does it shift based on convenience. But deception is a heavy burden. A liar must continuously build upon their falsehoods, adding layer after layer to keep their story intact. And yet, no matter how carefully they craft their words, the truth always finds a way to wry. A contradiction here, an inconsistency there, a slip of the tongue. Each one exposes what they are trying so hard to conceal. Silence speeds up this process. It forces the guilty to keep talking, and in doing so, they expose themselves. They may try to cover up their mistakes with more lies, but deception is a house built on sand. The more they try to patch the cracks, the more unstable their foundation becomes. And eventually their own words collapse on them. Not because you argued, not because you defended yourself, but because you allowed time and truth to do their work. Silence removes distractions. When you do not respond to accusations, manipulations, or deceit, you strip away the noise that the guilty use to disguise their wrongdoing. A dishonest person thrives on confusion. They rely on drama, conflict, and exaggerated emotions to shift focus away from their actions. They create distractions, hoping to make you react, to pull you into their chaos, so that the real issue is lost in the argument. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to entertain their games, you force the focus back onto them. Without a reaction to feed their distractions, they are left exposed. They can no longer twist your words, they cannot use your emotions against you, and they have no way to shift blame onto you. All that remains is their own behavior, standing in the light of truth. And the longer the silence lasts, the more uncomfortable they become. They scramble for ways to regain control, but with no one to argue against, their tricks lose their power. The world begins to see them for who they truly are, not through the lens of the confusion they try to create. People who operate in truth do not fear clarity. They do not need distractions because their words and actions align. But deception cannot survive without chaos. It needs distractions to survive, just like a fire needs oxygen. When you take away the oxygen, when you refuse to engage, the fire begins to suffocate. The more they try to ignite conflict, the more obvious it becomes that they are trying to hide something. And in that moment, silence becomes louder than any argument. It becomes the undeniable proof of their guilt. The guilty may try to create new distractions, bringing in others to speak for them, trying to shift the narrative to something else. But the truth has already been set in motion. They cannot escape what they have done. Without distractions to hide behind, they must face the consequences of their own choices. And that is the power of silence. It clears away the noise, allowing only the truth to remain. Silence forces accountability. When you refuse to respond to manipulation, deceit, or false accusations, you remove the possibility of debate, leaving the guilty with only one thing to confront: their own actions. Many people avoid responsibility by shifting blame, twisting narratives, or provoking a reaction that makes them appear as the victim. But when there is no response, no argument, and no defense, they are left alone with the truth they have tried so hard to escape. Accountability is a heavy burden for those who refuse to take responsibility. They will do anything to avoid it: lie, manipulate, play the victim, even seek support from others to justify their actions. But silence leaves them no way out. It does not give them an excuse to shift blame. It does not offer them a target to attack. And it does not provide them with an opportunity to twist the situation in their favor. Instead, it places them face to face with the reality of what they have done. Guilt demands an audience. A person who knows they are wrong will always seek validation from others to escape the weight of their conscience. They want to argue, they want to explain, they want to justify. Because if they can convince someone else that they are not guilty, perhaps they can convince themselves as well. But silence denies them this escape. It leaves them with no one to argue against, no one to manipulate, no one to share their burden of guilt. And in that isolation, accountability becomes unavoidable. Those who walk in truth do not fear accountability. They do not run from consequences, nor do they need to manipulate the situation to make themselves look innocent. But the guilty, when left alone with their actions, are forced to wrestle with the truth they have denied. And in time, the weight of that truth becomes unbearable. Not because you fought them, not because you exposed them, but because you allowed them to expose themselves. That is the power of silence. It does not accuse, yet it condemns. It does not argue, yet it convicts. It does not chase justice, yet it ensures that justice is served. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the weapon of the discerning, the shield of the innocent, and the mirror that forces the guilty to face themselves. It does not seek revenge, yet it delivers justice. It does not fight battles, yet it wins wars. When you refuse to engage in manipulation, when you choose not to defend yourself against falsehoods, you shift the weight of truth onto those who seek to distort it. And under that weight, they crumble, not by your words, but by their own. The guilty will try to provoke you, to pull you into their chaos, to make you react so they can escape the truth. But do not be deceived. Stand firm. Let silence do its work, for in the absence of your defense, their guilt will echo louder than any argument. Time will expose them, truth will vindicate you, and justice will come not by force, but by the undeniable power of silence. When lies and rumors begin to swirl around you, it is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a reflection of the insecurities and fears of those who spread them. Lies are the tools of the weak. They are the weapons of those who cannot confront your truth. You must understand that your purpose is too great to be derailed by whispers in the shadows. The strength of your character is proven not in the absence of opposition, but in how you stand firm when others try to tear you down. People will spread lies when they feel threatened by your potential. They will create rumors to undermine what they cannot control. But let me remind you, the truth always rises. The truth is like the sun. It cannot be hidden forever. No matter how thick the clouds of deception may seem, the light will break through. Do not waste your energy trying to chase every rumor or silence every voice of opposition. Your purpose requires focus, and your destiny demands discipline. Think of an eagle soaring above the storm. While the winds rage below, the eagle ascends higher, using the very force of the storm to elevate itself. So when lies come against you, do not stoop down to fight on the level of those who spread them. Instead, rise above. Keep your eyes fixed on your vision, your goals, and the principles that guide your life. Remember, even Jesus himself faced lies and false accusations. They called him a blasphemer. They tried to discredit his works, but he did not retaliate. He did not argue with those who sought to bring him down. He remained focused on his mission, knowing that time would reveal the truth of who he was and what he came to do. In the same way, you must remain steadfast in your purpose, trusting that time and integrity will vindicate you. Your reputation is not determined by the opinions of others. It is built by the consistency of your character. While rumors may temporarily sway those who do not know you, those who truly see your heart will not be moved. And more importantly, God sees and knows everything. He is your ultimate defender, and his justice is perfect. Do not allow the lies of others to distract you from the assignment on your life. When people talk about you, it is often because they see something in you that reminds them of their own inadequacies. Take it as confirmation that you are walking in a way that demands attention. Instead of shrinking back, let it push you to shine brighter, to achieve greater things, and to live in such a way that even your enemies are forced to acknowledge the goodness of God in your life. What they mean for evil, God will turn for good. Every lie, every rumor, every false word spoken against you will serve as a stepping stone to your elevation if you stay faithful. Trust in the process, keep walking in integrity, and watch how the truth will set you free. Lies and rumors are never a reflection of who you truly are. Instead, they expose the weaknesses, fears, and insecurities of those who spread them. People who feel threatened by your growth, your influence, or your potential often resort to these tactics because they lack the courage to confront their own inadequacies. They use lies as a shield to protect their fragile egos, as a way to deflect attention from their own shortcomings. But let me remind you, their words hold no power unless you allow them to. When someone spreads falsehoods about you, it is not because of who you are, but because of who they are afraid of you becoming. They see something in you, your strength, your resilience, your ability to rise that they cannot replicate. Instead of being inspired, they become intimidated. And in their insecurity, they attempt to drag you down to their level, hoping that by doing so, they can distract from the light you carry. Lies are the tools of the weak. A person with integrity, a person with confidence, does not need to rely on deception to make their point. Those who know their worth, who walk in truth, do not feel the need to tear others down. But those who are unsure of themselves, those who feel diminished in your presence, will often resort to lies to try and undermine what they cannot control. This is why you must understand that when lies are spoken about you, it has little to do with your character or your actions. It is a sign that your presence is shaking something in the lives of others. Your progress unsettles them, your vision challenges them, and your determination reminds them of their own lack of direction. Lies are simply their way of trying to cope with the discomfort your success brings to their stagnant existence. But here is the truth: what others say about you does not define you. Their words are powerless in the face of your integrity and your purpose. The greatest threat to a lie is a life lived in truth. Your actions, your consistency, and your unwavering commitment to your principles will always outshine the shadows of deception. Let them talk, let them spread their rumors, for it only reveals the limits of their character, not yours. So do not be discouraged when lies are spoken about you. Instead, recognize them for what they are: a confirmation of the power, the influence, and the greatness within you that others feel incapable of matching. Use it as fuel to keep going, to keep building, and to keep standing tall. Let your truth be the answer to every falsehood, and trust that time will vindicate you. For while lies are loud, they are also fleeting, but truth is eternal, and it will always endure. The truth is one of the most powerful forces in existence, and no matter how deeply it is buried beneath lies and rumors, it always finds a way to rise. It is like the sun hidden momentarily by clouds, yet unstoppable in its ability to break through and shine brightly over everything. Lies may create a temporary shadow, but they cannot extinguish the light of the truth. This is why you must remain patient and steadfast, even when it feels like the weight of falsehood is pressing down on you. Same time has a way of revealing what is real and what is not. The nature of a lie is fleeting. It is born out of fear, jealousy, or insecurity, and it lacks the strength to endure the test of time. Lies may travel quickly, but their foundation is weak, built on deception and manipulation. The truth, on the other hand, is eternal. It does not need to be defended aggressively or shouted from the rooftops. It stands firm, waiting for its moment to be revealed. And when that moment comes, it obliterates every falsehood, leaving no room for doubt about what is genuine. When people speak lies about you, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like their words are drowning out your voice, like their whispers have more weight than your actions. But remember, truth does not require haste. It does not need to fight for attention or force its way into the narrative. Truth simply waits because it knows its power. It knows that in the end, everything hidden in the darkness will be brought to light. Consider how the lies of others often fade over time. They lose their power as your integrity continues to shine. People begin to see the inconsistency in the words of those who spread falsehoods, and they recognize the strength in the life you live. This is why you must focus on your actions, not on the accusations. The truth is always validated by consistency. It is revealed in the choices you make, the way you treat others, and the life you build. Even when it seems like the lies are winning, do not waver. Every moment you continue to walk in truth, you are building a legacy that no amount of deception can tear down. The more consistent you are, the more undeniable your truth becomes. Lies may create noise, but they cannot sustain themselves in the face of evidence, integrity, and time. So trust in the process. Trust that the truth will do what it has always done, rise above the lies. It may take time and it may test your patience, but truth is unshakable and it is always victorious. You do not need to chase after it or force its recognition. Simply live it and let it speak for itself. The light of truth will always shine, no matter how long the night of lies may last. Your energy is one of your most valuable resources, and where you direct it determines the course of your life. When lies and rumors are spoken against you, the temptation is to respond, to defend yourself, to try to correct every misunderstanding. But in doing so, you risk losing sight of the greater purpose you are called to fulfill. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every voice deserves your response. The truth of your life and your character will always speak louder than any rumor, but only if you remain focused on the path before you. When you allow lies to distract you, you give them power over your destiny. You shift your focus from building your purpose to dismantling someone else's deception. But here is the reality: your purpose is too great to be interrupted by the opinions of those who do not understand your journey. Your vision is too valuable to be sacrificed on the altar of defending yourself against accusations that will fade with time. Think of a runner in a race. They do not stop to address every jeer or shout from the crowd. Their eyes are fixed on the finish line, their energy channeled toward the prize. Stopping to respond to distractions only slows their progress and diminishes their chance of victory. In the same way, you must keep your focus on your purpose. The noise around you is irrelevant to the greatness that lies ahead. Focus is not just about ignoring the lies, it's about actively pursuing the mission that lies within you. When you stay committed to your goals, you send a message far more powerful than words. You show the world that your purpose is unshakable and that your identity is rooted in something deeper than the fleeting opinions of others. There will always be those who seek to pull you off course, but their influence depends entirely on your willingness to give them your attention. When you choose instead to channel your energy into your growth, your work, and your calling, you render their efforts ineffective. Lies lose their sting when they cannot deter you from your path. Moreover, focusing on your purpose brings clarity and peace. It reminds you of who you are and why you are here. It grounds you in the truth of your mission, making the voices of opposition seem small in comparison. The more you focus on what truly matters, the less room there is in your mind for the distractions of lies and rumors. So keep building, keep growing, and keep moving forward. Let your work, your achievements, and your legacy speak for you. The energy you save by not engaging in unnecessary battles can be poured into creating something so extraordinary that even those who doubted you will have no choice but to acknowledge your greatness. Focus is your weapon, your shield, and your strength. Do not trade it for the fleeting satisfaction of responding to those who are not walking your path. When people spread lies and rumors about you, it can feel like a storm raging against you. But just as the eagle uses the power of the wind to soar higher, you must learn to rise above the noise and chaos that others create. The eagle does not waste its energy fighting the storm. Instead, it embraces it, using the turbulence to ascend to heights where the storm can no longer touch it. This is the perspective you must adopt when confronted with falsehoods. The natural reaction to lies is to defend yourself, to fight back, to try to silence every whisper. But this is not where your strength lies. Your strength lies in your ability to rise above, to operate on a level where those who spread rumors cannot reach. Elevating yourself means choosing not to engage in petty battles and instead focusing on your higher purpose. It is about refusing to stoop to the level of those who seek to drag you down. When you rise above, you position yourself in a place of power and clarity. From above, you can see the bigger picture. The lies may be loud, but they are also small in the grand scope of your destiny. They are distractions, not destinations. By refusing to give them your attention, you deny them the power to influence your life. Instead, you set your sights on goals that matter, allowing your actions to speak louder than any word spoken against you. Rising above also means maintaining your dignity and self-control. Those who spread lies often hope to provoke a reaction from you, to pull you into their drama and chaos. But when you remain calm, composed, and focused, you deny them the satisfaction of seeing you falter. Your restraint becomes a testament to your strength and character. The eagle's perspective is one of wisdom. It understands that the storm is temporary and that fighting it head-on is futile. Similarly, you must recognize that the lies and rumors are momentary distractions, not lasting truths. When you elevate yourself above them, you align yourself with the truth, which is unshakable and eternal. Rising above is not about ignoring the lies or pretending they don't exist. It's about choosing a higher path. It's about understanding that your time and energy are too valuable to waste on things that do not serve your purpose. By focusing on your vision, your goals, and your growth, you render the lies irrelevant. You show the world that your life is not defined by the words of others, but by the actions and principles you embody. So let them talk. Let the storm rage around you. You are not called to fight the wind, you are called to soar above it. The higher you rise, the smaller the storm appears, and the clearer your purpose becomes. Like the eagle, embrace the challenge, use it to propel yourself upward, and let your altitude be your response to those who try to pull you down. When people spread lies and rumors about you, it is natural to feel the urge to confront them, to clear your name, and to prove them wrong. But one of the greatest lessons in life is that the loudest response is not always the most effective one. Instead, let your actions speak for you. Your life, your integrity, and your consistent behavior are far more powerful than any words you could use to defend yourself. Actions carry a weight that words cannot, and over time, they reveal the truth more clearly than any argument ever could. When you live a life of authenticity, your actions become your testimony. Every choice you make, every step you take in alignment with your principles becomes a reflection of who you truly are. Lies and rumors may distort perceptions momentarily, but your consistent actions will always outlast them. People may doubt what they hear when it contradicts what they see. When your life is rooted in honesty, kindness, and purpose, it becomes impossible for lies to gain a lasting foothold. Consider the example of a tree. Its roots run deep, and its strength is evident in its growth, its fruit, and its ability to weather storms. The whispers of wind cannot uproot it, and the passing shadows cannot diminish its stature. In the same way, your consistent actions create a foundation that no lie can shake. The more you focus on living a life of integrity, the more evident your truth becomes to those around you. Let your actions demonstrate resilience. When others see you continuing to work hard, to excel, to treat others with respect, and to walk confidently in your purpose despite the lies, it sends a powerful message. It says, I am not defined by the opinions of others. I am defined by the life I lead. This quiet confidence often speaks louder than any words could. It commands respect and forces even those who doubted you to reconsider their stance. It is also important to recognize that not everyone will believe the lies. There are those who watch your life closely, who see your actions and know your character. They are not swayed by the noise because they trust what they have consistently observed in you. These people become your silent advocates, sharing the truth about you through their own experiences. And even for those who may initially believe the rumors, your actions can gradually dismantle their misconceptions. Living with integrity means choosing not to react to every falsehood, but instead committing to your principles. It means working hard, being honest, treating others fairly, and staying true to your values. These actions create a ripple effect, influencing not just your immediate surroundings, but also shaping the perceptions of those who may never meet you personally. Over time, actions have a way of silencing lies. While words fade, what you build with your hands and heart endures. The legacy you create with your life outlasts the temporary noise of gossip. So let your work, your relationships, your kindness, and your unwavering commitment to your purpose do the talking. Lies are fleeting, but a life lived with integrity is timeless. When lies and rumors are spread about you, there is a temptation to try to defend yourself, to confront every falsehood and every person who speaks against you. But wisdom teaches us that truth, like light, cannot be hidden forever. It may be obscured momentarily by shadows, but it always finds a way to shine through. The truth has a power of its own, a power that does not require constant defense or explanation, but only the patience to let it reveal itself in time. Truth is enduring, while lies are temporary. Lies may seem powerful in the moment, like a fire burning out of control, but fires fueled by falsehoods quickly burn out. Truth, on the other hand, is like a steady flame. It doesn't flicker in the wind of opinion or gossip. It remains constant and reliable. When you trust the truth to prevail, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of trying to prove or justify yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. To trust the truth is to recognize that time is on your side. People can manipulate words, distort facts, and create false narratives, but they cannot sustain lies indefinitely. Eventually, the inconsistencies in their stories become apparent, and the weight of the truth becomes undeniable. The truth does not require you to rush to its defense because it carries its own strength. Living in truth means standing firm in your integrity, even when others question it. It means refusing to let lies change who you are or how you operate. When you remain true to yourself, your principles and your purpose, you send a message that you are not shaken by temporary storms. You become a testament to the power of truth, not just in words, but in how you live your life. Trusting the truth also requires patience. In a world that demands immediate responses and instant validation, patience can feel like a weakness. But it is, in fact, a profound strength. Patience allows the truth to emerge naturally without force or manipulation. It gives space for others to see the reality for themselves, to observe your consistency, and to recognize the falsehoods for what they are. There will be moments when you feel the weight of the lies, when the frustration of being misunderstood seems overwhelming. But in those moments, remind yourself that truth is eternal. It cannot be destroyed by gossip or malice. It is not swayed by opinion or perception. The truth is a reflection of reality, and reality does not change because someone chooses to distort it temporarily. When you trust the truth, you also trust in the process of life. You recognize that every challenge, including the challenge of being lied about, is an opportunity for growth. Lies test your patience, your character, and your ability to stay grounded in what you know to be true. By remaining steadfast, you allow the truth to vindicate you in ways that words never could. So let the truth do its work. You don't need to chase it or defend it constantly. You only need to live it. Time will reveal who you are and who your detractors are. The truth is not afraid of scrutiny, and it does not waver in the face of opposition. Trust it, live it, and let it be your unshakable foundation, even when the winds of lies blow around you. When others spread lies and rumors about you, their intention is often to provoke you, to draw you into their web of negativity, and to see you falter. But one of the most powerful responses you can give is not to react emotionally, but to maintain your composure and self-control. It is in your calmness, your refusal to be shaken, that you demonstrate true strength. Self-control is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of mastery. It shows that you are not governed by the actions of others, but by the principles and purpose that guide your life. Those who spread lies expect you to lash out, to respond with anger, or to lower yourself to their level. They hope to see you stumble under the weight of their deceit. But when you remain calm and collected, you disarm them. Your restraint becomes a shield that protects your dignity and your peace. It sends a clear message that you are not controlled by their words or their attempts to harm you. Self-control is also a reflection of wisdom. It recognizes that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every accusation deserves a response. Reacting to lies only amplifies them, giving them more attention than they deserve. But when you choose not to react, you deprive the lies of their power. They lose their momentum, and those who spread them are left to contend with their own malice. This does not mean you ignore the pain or frustration caused by lies. It is natural to feel hurt, but self-control allows you to process those emotions without letting them dictate your actions. It creates a space where you can step back, assess the situation, and respond, if necessary, with clarity and purpose rather than impulsiveness. This kind of measured response not only protects you, but also sets you apart as someone who operates on a higher level. In maintaining self-control, you also protect your energy. Engaging in arguments, defending yourself against every rumor, and trying to convince others of your truth can be draining. It takes time and effort that could be better spent on pursuing your goals, nurturing your relationships, and living your life authentically. Self-control allows you to conserve your energy for the things that truly matter, rather than wasting it on distractions. Moreover, self-control inspires respect. People are drawn to those who remain composed under pressure, who do not crumble in the face of adversity. Your calmness in the midst of chaos becomes a beacon of strength for others. It shows that you are rooted in something deeper than the opinions of people or the fleeting drama of life. Maintaining self-control also aligns you with the truth. When you refuse to be provoked, you demonstrate a quiet confidence in the truth's ability to prevail. Your calmness reflects your belief that the lies are temporary and the truth is eternal. It reveals a faith that what is real cannot be undone by mere words. So when the storms of lies and rumors swirl around you, stand firm. Let your calmness speak louder than the chaos. Let your restraint show that you are not defined by their accusations, but by your own principles. In the silence of your self-control, you create a powerful statement that you are unshaken, unbroken, and unstoppable. When people spread lies and rumors about you, it is easy to let anger and resentment take root in your heart. But one of the most profound lessons in life is learning how to forgive, even when forgiveness feels undeserved. Forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of those who wronged you or pretending that their lies did not hurt. It is about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying the actions in your heart. When you forgive, you take back your power. You release the grip that their words and actions have on your mind, your spirit, and your future. Forgiveness is not a weakness. It is one of the greatest demonstrations of strength. It takes courage to choose forgiveness over bitterness, because bitterness is easy. It is easy to replay the lies in your mind, to hold onto the pain, and to let anger shape your thoughts and actions. But when you forgive, you rise above the situation. You refuse to let the actions of others dictate the course of your life. Forgiveness allows you to move forward unencumbered by the weight of the past. Choosing forgiveness does not mean ignoring what happened. It does not mean pretending that the lies didn't hurt or that the betrayal didn't shake you. It means acknowledging the pain and deciding that it will not control you. Forgiveness is an act of liberation. It liberates you from the toxic energy of anger and resentment, allowing you to focus on your growth, your purpose, and your peace. When you forgive, you also take a step toward healing. Holding on to resentment is like holding on to a wound without allowing it to close. It keeps the pain fresh, preventing you from truly moving forward. Forgiveness is the balm that soothes your soul, allowing you to find peace even in the aftermath of betrayal. It shifts your focus from what was done to you to what you can do for yourself. Forgiving those who spread lies about you also protects your heart. Resentment and bitterness are corrosive. They eat away at your joy, your relationships, and your sense of purpose. They keep you tied to the people who hurt you, giving them power over your emotions. But when you forgive, you sever that tie. You reclaim your heart, your mind, and your spirit, making room for love, gratitude, and hope to take root once again. Forgiveness also sends a powerful message to those who observe your life. It shows that you are not defined by the actions of others, but by your own choices. It demonstrates that you have the strength to rise above pettiness and the wisdom to prioritize your peace over your pride. People who see you forgiving those who wronged you are often inspired to do the same in their own lives. Forgiving does not mean you must reconcile with those who lied about you or welcome them back into your life. Forgiveness is about letting go, not about giving others permission to hurt you again. It is an internal process, a decision you make for your own well-being. You can forgive while maintaining healthy boundaries and protecting yourself from further harm. Finally, forgiveness aligns you with the truth and with your higher purpose. When you forgive, you show that your life is not driven by vengeance or a need to prove yourself to others. It is driven by your commitment to your principles and your trust in the power of truth. Forgiveness reflects your faith that lies cannot overshadow the light of your character and that the truth will ultimately prevail. So forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Forgive because your purpose is too great to be hindered by anger. Forgive because your heart was made for love, not bitterness. And forgive because in doing so, you free yourself to live fully, joyfully, and unshaken by the noise around you. When people spread lies and rumors about you, it's natural to feel like you've been wronged, that you've been treated unfairly, and that you deserve an apology. But the truth is, not every apology will come, and that's okay. Sometimes you will never receive the acknowledgement or recognition you feel you deserve. And this is where you need to realize the power of moving on, regardless of whether the apology ever comes or not. Moving on is not about forgetting what happened or pretending the hurt didn't matter. It is about making the conscious decision to no longer allow someone else's actions to control your emotions, your life, or your future. Moving on is an act of self-respect. When you allow yourself to be consumed by anger, resentment, or the desire for an apology, you give power to the people who have wronged you. You let them live rent-free in your mind, controlling your thoughts and holding you hostage to the past. But when you choose to move on, you take back that power. You refuse to give them space in your life any longer. You refuse to let their actions define your happiness. Moving on means stepping into your future, not dwelling on a past that you cannot change. Sometimes the people who spread lies about you will never understand the impact of their words, or they will never take responsibility for their actions. That can be a hard pill to swallow, but you must accept that some people's actions are beyond your control. What you can control is your response. You can choose to rise above their negativity and let go of the need for their approval, their apology, or their validation. You can move forward with grace and dignity, unshaken by their falsehoods. Moving on also means no longer allowing your past hurts to limit your potential. When you stay stuck in anger or bitterness, you carry the weight of those emotions wherever you go. They become part of your identity, shaping how you interact with others and how you view yourself. But when you move on, you shed that weight. You free yourself from the chains of the past, and you make room for the blessings that are waiting for you in the present and the future. You reclaim your power to shape your own story. By moving on, you also show the world that you are not defined by the actions of others. The lies people tell about you do not determine who you are. You are not a victim of their false narratives. You are a person of purpose with your own path to follow, and nothing can stop you except the choices you make. When you choose to move on, you send a powerful message that you are in control of your life, no one else. Moving on is about focusing on your future, not your past. It is about recognizing that there are bigger, more important things waiting for you than fighting over the lies that have been told. There are dreams to be pursued, relationships to be nurtured, and opportunities to be seized. When you move on, you refocus your energy on what truly matters and stop allowing the past to distract you from your goals. Ultimately, moving on is a declaration of self-love. It's an acknowledgement that you deserve peace, happiness, and success. You deserve to live a life free from the grip of anger and resentment. You deserve to walk confidently, knowing that the lies people spread about you do not have the power to stop your forward movement. Moving on is not a sign of weakness. It is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. It shows that you are stronger than any attack, stronger than any falsehood, and stronger than the hurt that was caused. So when the lies are spread, when the rumors swirl around you, remember that you have the ability to move on. You don't need an apology to move forward. You don't need validation from anyone to walk in your purpose. All you need is the decision to move on, and with that decision, you reclaim your peace, your power, and your future. As the lies and rumors spread about you, it's easy to get caught up in the desire for justice, the need for others to recognize the truth. But here's a profound truth you must embrace: you do not need to defend yourself. You do not need to explain or justify your character to anyone who doubts or misunderstands you. The truth of who you are does not need to be defended because it stands on its own, unwavering and powerful. The more you try to defend yourself against every false accusation, the more energy you waste, the more time you lose, and the more you give power to those who seek to hurt you. People will always talk, they will always have their opinions, and they will always spread rumors about those they misunderstand or envy. But you, as someone who is focused on purpose, growth, and integrity, do not have the time or the need to chase every rumor or counter every lie. You are above such things. Defending yourself, constantly trying to convince others of your truth, only pulls you into a never-ending cycle of proving something that doesn't need proving. The truth always prevails, but sometimes it does so without needing to be shouted from the rooftops. It simply exists in the integrity of your actions, in the consistency of your character, and in the fruit that your life produces. The greatest defense against lies and rumors is not words, but your actions. Your actions will speak louder than any lie someone can spread. They will show who you are. The consistent demonstration of your values, your character, and your principles will silence the doubts and questions in the hearts of those who truly matter. People who are close to you, who genuinely care about you, will see beyond the lies. They will recognize the truth in the way you live, in the way you treat others, and in the way you carry yourself, regardless of the falsehoods being spread. It's important to understand that those who spread rumors and lies are often doing so out of their own insecurity, jealousy, or misunderstanding. They feel threatened by your strength, your success, or your peace. They are projecting their own internal struggles onto you. But you don't need to take that personally. The moment you stop defending yourself against every falsehood, you release the hold those lies have on you. You are no longer allowing those who spread rumors to dictate how you feel, how you act, or how you see yourself. Their lies become irrelevant to your truth. Remember, defending yourself over every rumor or lie is exhausting. It pulls your attention away from the important work you are meant to do. There is so much more to you than the lies people tell. There is a greater purpose for your life than getting involved in every petty conflict or drama. When you choose to not defend yourself, you are choosing peace. You are choosing focus. You are choosing to keep your energy directed at the things that matter, the things that will take you closer to your destiny. There is an inherent power in walking in silence, letting your life and the truth of who you are be the greatest defense. Your silence is not weakness. It is strength. It is a statement that you trust the process of life. You trust that time will reveal the truth. You trust that people will eventually see who you are. Most importantly, you trust that your actions will outshine any lie that is told about you. And while you may feel tempted to speak out, to correct the misconceptions, understand that sometimes the best way to deal with lies is to allow them to play themselves out. The truth will always come to light in the end. Lies are temporary, they fade away, and those who spread them are often left looking foolish while you remain steadfast and unaffected. This is not to say you will not experience hurt or frustration from being misunderstood or misrepresented, but it is a reminder that you are playing the long game. You are investing in something far greater than the fleeting drama of false accusations. When you choose not to defend yourself, you are not giving in or showing weakness. You are choosing to rise above the fray. You are choosing to allow your actions to do the talking, your character to do the defending. And in that decision, you will find peace, strength, and a sense of clarity that those who are caught up in the lies will never experience. In conclusion, the lies and rumors that others spread about you do not define who you are. They may be powerful in the moment, but they are temporary, and the truth will always rise above them. Your strength lies in how you choose to respond. You do not need to defend yourself, explain your worth, or justify your character to anyone. Let your actions, your integrity, and the purpose you walk in be the loudest response. When you forgive, move on, and refuse to be shaken by the lies of others, you free yourself to live your life in alignment with your true calling. Understand that the path of peace and purpose is found in rising above negativity, trusting in the truth, and knowing that the lies will eventually fade, while your legacy of truth, strength, and character will endure. Stay true to yourself and let the power of who you are speak louder than any falsehood. They thought they knew you, didn't they? They assumed they understood who you were based on what they saw on the surface. But when they got closer, when they took a deeper look into your life, your character, your resilience, and your potential, what they found on you blew their minds. You see, many people live their lives based on assumptions. They judge you by your past, by your mistakes, by what you've been through. They judge you by your failures, by your struggles, and they think that defines you. But what they don't realize is that every failure you've encountered has shaped you into something far greater than they could ever imagine. You are not defined by your past mistakes, your struggles, or what they expect of you. You are defined by the God-given potential within you, the greatness that lies dormant, waiting to be awakened. And when they thought they knew you, when they believed they had you figured out, the truth was revealed. You are more than they ever anticipated. What they didn't see was the strength that has been building inside of you unseen and unnoticed. They didn't know about the battles you fought in silence, the struggles you overcame when no one was watching. They didn't see the moments when you chose to rise, when you chose to push through, when you chose to fight for your dreams despite the odds. You are not what people say you are. You are not what your circumstances dictate. You are not the label that they put on you. You are far beyond what they can comprehend. When they look at you, they see the surface, but when they look deeper, they will see the power, the vision, the strength, and the divine purpose within you. What they found on you, the true you, has the power to shake their very foundations. It will challenge their beliefs. It will inspire them to see greatness in places they never thought possible. Your success, your resilience, your vision, it's going to stun them. It's going to leave them speechless. They won't know how to process it because they never expected it from you. So let them talk. Let them judge. Let them assume. But remember, they have no idea what God has placed inside of you. They have no idea about the greatness, the dreams, and the destiny that is unfolding before their eyes. When they see you rise, when they see you walk in your purpose, when they see you accomplish what they thought was impossible, that's when the truth will hit them. They will realize that they underestimated you. They will realize that the potential in you is far greater than what they could have ever imagined. What they found on you didn't just blow their minds, it will change the course of their lives as they witness the greatness God has placed in you. They look at you and they immediately think they have you figured out. They see the mistakes you've made, the setbacks you faced, and they believe that this defines you. They judge you based on your past, on the things you've gone through, the things you've struggled with, the times when you were knocked down. But what they fail to realize is that what they see on the outside is just a small part of who you truly are. They base their opinions on the surface, and surface judgments are always incomplete, always misleading. You have to understand that the world often forms opinions from a distance. They don't see the pain behind your smile, the courage behind your actions, the strength that has been growing inside of you with each challenge you faced. They only see what's visible to the naked eye, and that's where they get it wrong. They see a person who might have stumbled or fallen, but they don't see the resolve, the determination, the relentless spirit that lives deep within you. They believe that what they can see is the sum of who you are. They think your mistakes are the final word, that your failures are your identity. But that's just an illusion. That's not who you are. They judge based on the surface, and it's a mistake because the real you, the one that has been shaped in the shadows, the one that has been through the fire and come out stronger, that person is beyond their comprehension. You are not your failures. You are not the mistakes you made. You are not defined by what you have been through. You are so much more than what they can see. Your true essence, your greatness, your divine potential is hidden beneath the surface. They have no idea what's inside of you. They don't know about the strength that has been built over time, the resilience that comes from overcoming obstacles, the wisdom you've gained from every challenge you've faced. They see a chapter of your life, but they don't see the entire story. They see you at a moment of weakness, but they don't see the victory that's coming. They judge based on what's visible, but they miss the depth of who you truly are. And that's what they will never understand until they witness the power that lies within you, waiting to be revealed in full force. Every time you stumbled, every time you fell, every time you found yourself knocked down, people assumed that it was the end. They assumed that failure defined you, that you would never rise again. What they didn't see, what they didn't understand, was that every setback was shaping you. Every failure was molding you into something stronger, wiser, and more resilient. They didn't see the purpose behind your struggles. They didn't see the unseen forces that were working within you, preparing you for a greater purpose. The truth is, every hardship you faced has been an essential part of your growth. The challenges you encountered weren't meant to break you. No, they were designed to refine you, to strengthen your character, and to deepen your resolve. When life tried to throw you off course, when the storm seemed overwhelming, something inside of you refused to stay down. You may have faced disappointment, rejection, and heartbreak, but instead of allowing those moments to define you, they ignited something deeper within. What they didn't see was the inner power you were developing during those tough times. They didn't see how each time you were knocked down, you grew in resilience. They didn't witness the quiet moments when you chose to pick yourself up, even when no one was watching. They didn't see the tears you shed in private, the pain you endured in silence, but how in those moments you discovered a strength and determination that even you didn't know existed. In every battle you fought, you gained strength. In every failure, you gained wisdom. In every hardship, you gained clarity. These moments didn't break you, they built you. They taught you lessons that couldn't be learned in comfort, lessons that would stay with you forever. You learned how to trust in yourself, how to push through the impossible, how to keep going when everything around you seemed to be falling apart. You built a foundation in the tough moments that will support you for the rest of your life. What they saw was the aftermath, the exterior. But they didn't see the work that was done in the hidden places, the quiet preparation, the internal transformation that was taking place. The person they saw on the surface wasn't the person you were becoming. They didn't understand that your story wasn't over yet. What they didn't realize is that your failures were never failures, they were stepping stones, each one leading you closer to the powerful, unstoppable person you are today. What they thought was the end was only the beginning. What they didn't see was the victory being forged in the furnace of adversity. And now, as you step into your purpose, as you rise above it all, they will finally understand that every setback was actually a setup for something greater. Every time you fell, you were getting closer to your true destiny. You are not what they think you are. You are not the image they've created in their minds based on what they've seen, the mistakes you've made, or the challenges you've faced. You are not confined by their limited understanding of who you are. You are defined by something far greater than their perceptions. You are defined by the potential that God has placed within you. God has given you a unique and incredible purpose, a purpose that cannot be understood or measured by anyone but the Creator. They might try to box you in, categorize you based on your past, your actions, or your circumstances. But they don't know the divine vision that God has written for your life. They can't see the greatness inside of you, the power that is waiting to be unlocked. Your value is not determined by the opinions of others or by what they think you are capable of. Your worth is determined by the calling on your life, by the divine purpose that has been placed inside of you. People may look at you and think that your past mistakes or failures are the sum of who you are. They might even think that the struggles you've been through will forever limit you. But what they don't realize is that your purpose is not shaped by what has happened to you. It's shaped by what God has destined for you. It's not about what you've been through. It's about where you're going. It's not about the things you've suffered. It's about the purpose that God is unfolding in your life step by step. You are so much more than the sum of your experiences. You are more than the labels people place on you. God has placed an anointing over your life, and this anointing is what defines you. It's what gives you the strength to keep going when others would quit, the courage to step into new territories when others are too afraid. Your potential is boundless, and it cannot be measured by anyone but God. What they fail to understand is that you are a vessel of divine purpose. Your life is not a series of random events, nor is it dictated by the opinions of others. You are here for a reason, placed on this earth for a specific purpose that only you can fulfill. The dreams, the vision, the goals that burn in your heart, they are not there by accident. They have been planted in you by God himself, and they are the blueprint for your life. When they look at you, they may see someone struggling, someone uncertain, someone who's faced hardships. But when God looks at you, he sees his creation destined for greatness. He sees a vessel that's been prepared, refined, and shaped for something extraordinary. Your purpose is written in the stars. It's been set since the very beginning. They may never understand it, but you are the only one who needs to believe in it. Your potential is limitless. Your calling is unwavering, and your destiny is unfolding with every step you take. So when they try to define you, when they try to reduce you to what they know or what they assume, remember this: you are defined not by their opinions, but by the divine potential that God has placed within you. You are a masterpiece in the making, and no one, no matter how close they may be, can fully comprehend what you're capable of. What they didn't see, what they never could have imagined, was the strength that has been quietly building inside of you. They didn't see the moments when you fought battles in silence, when you carried the weight of the world on your shoulders, but never let it break you. They didn't witness the quiet strength that has been growing in you, hidden from view, far beneath the surface. They didn't see the silent resilience that was being forged in the fire of adversity, and that's why they underestimated you. In this world, we often get caught up in what's visible to the naked eye. We are quick to judge based on the external, to assume that what we see is the full picture. But the truth is, strength doesn't always announce itself in grand gestures or loud proclamations. Often, true strength is built in the quietest of moments, in the darkest of hours, when no one is looking. They didn't see those moments when you were broken, when you were hurt, when the weight of life seemed too much to bear. They didn't see you press on when every part of you wanted to quit, when you kept going, even when the path ahead was unclear. What they didn't know is that the strength you have today wasn't built overnight. It wasn't built in the good times when everything was easy and life seemed to be flowing effortlessly. No, your strength was built in the hard times when you had to push through your fears, your doubts, and your pain. It was built in the quiet moments when you chose not to give up, when you chose to keep moving forward, even when every part of you was telling you to stop. They didn't see the times you prayed when you felt like you had no words left. They didn't see the moments you cried alone when no one else was there to hold you up. They didn't see the battles you fought in your mind, the internal struggles that no one could witness. They didn't see the mental strength, the emotional resilience, and the spiritual endurance that you built during those dark days. And because they didn't see it, they underestimated the force of will, the power, the tenacity, and the courage that you possess within you. This strength that has been quietly growing inside of you is unshakable. It is the kind of strength that cannot be easily broken. It's the kind of strength that comes from within, from a place that others can't see, from a foundation that is built on faith, hope, and a refusal to quit. It's the strength that has carried you through the hardest moments of your life, and it will continue to carry you as you move forward. They may not have seen it, but that doesn't matter. You didn't need them to see it. You didn't need them to acknowledge it. The strength within you is undeniable, and it is growing every single day. What they didn't see is that you were being prepared all along, that you were being strengthened, tested, and refined for the greater things that lie ahead. Your strength is not just for surviving, it's for thriving, for rising higher, and for achieving things they could never have imagined. They looked at you and saw someone who was down, someone who was struggling, and they presumed that your struggles would be the end of your story. They didn't see the layers of greatness that were being cultivated in the unseen. They couldn't understand that every tear you shed, every painful moment, every challenge you faced was part of a greater process that was preparing you for something far beyond what they could imagine. You were in a season of preparation, a season where the soil of your life was being tilled, the rough edges were being smoothed, and your character was being developed. People might have seen your pain and assumed it was a sign of weakness, but in reality, that pain was just the catalyst for the power that was being unleashed within you. What they didn't understand is that God often works in the hidden places, in the moments of solitude, in the trials that no one else sees. They think your silence is a sign of defeat, but it is the quiet that prepares you for the roar of victory. Your greatest strength, Your greatest potential was not built on the easy days. It was not built when everything was going well, when life felt smooth and predictable. It was built during the times when you felt broken, when the world around you seemed to be collapsing, when it felt as though nothing was going according to plan. It was during those times that you found your true depth, your true power. It was in those moments that you developed a kind of resilience that cannot be measured by the standards of the world. What they didn't see was how you were learning to trust, how you were learning to have faith when everything seemed uncertain. They didn't see how you were strengthening your spirit in the quiet moments, how you were digging deep into your faith, building a foundation that would support you through anything that came your way. Your growth was happening in places that no one could see. It was happening in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, where only you and God knew the transformation that was taking place. They thought they knew you, but what they didn't understand is that the person they saw wasn't the final version of who you were meant to be. You were in the process of becoming something greater, someone more powerful, someone more capable, someone who would rise above every obstacle and achieve things that no one thought possible. Your story wasn't finished yet. It was only just beginning. And so when they see you now, when they see the person you become, it will blow their minds. They will realize that the same person they underestimated, the same person they counted out, is now standing strong, resilient, and ready to take on the world. They will look at you and realize that what they thought was the end was just the beginning of something far greater. What they missed was the quiet strength being cultivated in you, a strength that has now come to full fruition. They didn't see how every hardship was shaping you, how every challenge was positioning you for greatness, how every setback was a setup for your victory. And now they will be forced to acknowledge the power, the resilience, and the greatness that they could never have imagined. They underestimated you because they were only looking at the surface. They couldn't see the depth of your potential, the strength you were cultivating, or the wisdom you were gaining. They didn't realize that what they considered weakness was actually the foundation of your future success. They thought your quietness, your patience, your humility meant you were passive, that you weren't capable of taking charge or stepping into your destiny. But in reality, they didn't see the power that was quietly building in you, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The world often misjudges quiet strength, thinking that someone who isn't outwardly loud or forceful is lacking in power. But let me tell you something, there is a strength that is built not in loud declarations, but in steady, unwavering determination. There's a strength that comes from enduring hardship without giving in, from persevering in silence, from maintaining your composure when others around you are falling apart. They didn't see the deep well of patience that you were developing during those long, seemingly endless seasons. They didn't see how you were learning to trust in God's timing, to wait for the perfect moment when all things would align. Your patience wasn't a sign of complacency. It was a sign of your inner conviction, a sign that you believed in something greater than what you could see in the present moment. They couldn't understand that you were preparing for something bigger, something more impactful, something that would blow their minds. What they didn't see was how you were sharpening your skills, how you were gaining the knowledge you would need for the next stage of your life. They didn't see how you were learning, growing, and becoming an expert in your field. They saw only your current circumstances, not the vision you had for your future. They didn't see you investing in yourself, in your personal development, in your spiritual growth. They didn't see how every book you read, every lesson you learned, every conversation you had was building a foundation for the greatness that was about to be revealed. You were in a process of becoming. They thought you were stuck. They thought you were stagnant. But what they didn't realize was that you were in the middle of a transformation. You were shedding old mindsets, old limitations, and old beliefs about who you were and what you could accomplish. You were letting go of the past, breaking free from the chains of doubt and fear that once held you back. And in that space, you were becoming something new, something greater. They couldn't see this process. They couldn't see the new version of you that was emerging from the ashes of the old. When the time comes, when your moment arrives, they will see the strength, the wisdom, and the capabilities that have been growing in you all along. They will be shocked because they thought you were just like everyone else, but they didn't know the power you carried within. They didn't see the work that God was doing in the unseen. And when they finally witness the manifestation of your potential, it will blow their minds. You were always preparing for greatness. They just didn't know it yet. The patience, the quiet work, the unseen struggles, and the hidden victories were all shaping you into someone who would one day rise and show the world just how powerful you truly are. They never saw the resilience you were quietly building, the relentless spirit that would refuse to give up no matter what life threw at you. What they didn't see is how every failure, every setback, every moment of disappointment was not a defeat, but a stepping stone, a lesson, a building block that was making you stronger and more determined than ever before. They believed that your struggles would break you, that the weight of life's difficulties would crush your spirit. But what they didn't realize is that adversity was refining you, preparing you, and molding you into someone unstoppable. You see, resilience isn't about avoiding challenges or escaping hardships. It's about how you rise after you've fallen, how you get back up after being knocked down. It's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you choose to rise. And while they were busy watching your falls, they failed to notice that each one was leading you closer to your greatness. What they didn't understand is that true resilience isn't just about enduring the storm. It's about learning from it, growing from it, and using it as fuel for your next move. What they didn't see is the quiet strength that kept you going. Even when no one else believed in you, they couldn't see the depth of your commitment, the fire within you that would never be extinguished, no matter how harsh the winds of life blew. They didn't see how you picked yourself up when others walked away, how you kept fighting when everyone told you to give up. They couldn't see the silent determination that was built into your character. A determination that comes not from the easy wins, but from the hardest battles you fought and won in your own heart and mind. They didn't see how every setback was a lesson in resilience, how every heartbreak was a chance to rebuild, how every disappointment was a prompt to rise higher. While they were judging you based on your current state, they were blind to the process of transformation that was happening beneath the surface. You weren't losing, you were learning. You weren't failing, you were growing stronger. Each hardship was a tool in the hands of God, shaping you, refining you, and making you into the person you are today, unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniable. What they didn't realize is that resilience is a quiet strength. It's not always loud and it's not always seen, but it's always there, growing within you. It's the inner strength that refuses to be defeated. It's the voice inside that says, I will try again, even when the world tells you to quit. They didn't see that it wasn't the battles you won externally, but the ones you won within that were making you the person you were meant to be. They couldn't understand that the struggles were not signs of weakness, but the very things that were fortifying your spirit and preparing you for the greatness that was coming. And so when they see you standing tall, when they see you living out your purpose, when they see you achieving what they thought was impossible, it will blow their minds. They will realize that the resilience you've shown was never about avoiding the storm, but about learning how to dance in the rain, how to grow through the pain, and how to rise with strength that no one thought you had. It's the kind of resilience that's built through experience, through enduring, and through never giving up, no matter the odds. What they didn't see is that this resilience was your secret weapon all along, and now that it's been revealed, it will take you farther than they ever imagined. They never saw the resilience you were quietly building, the unshakable strength that was developing in the shadows, far from the prying eyes of those who were too quick to judge. They saw you struggle, saw you face setbacks, and they assumed that the battles you were fighting would defeat you. What they didn't understand was that every trial, every painful moment was only preparing you for the breakthrough that would come. Your resilience wasn't born from an easy life or a smooth path. It was formed in the crucible of hardship, where the heat of difficulty refined your character and made you stronger. What they didn't see is how you were learning to rise every time you fell. You didn't let the weight of your disappointments crush your spirit. Instead, you used each one as a lesson in perseverance. Each time life knocked you down, you didn't stay there. You got up, dusted yourself off, and kept moving forward. You weren't afraid of the process. You understood that it was in the struggle that your true strength was forged. You realized that resilience wasn't about avoiding hardship. It was about how you responded to it. It was about facing each challenge head on, even when it seemed like the odds were stacked against you, and saying, I will not be broken. You see, resilience is not just about surviving, it's about thriving through adversity. It's about holding on when everything else seems to be falling apart. They couldn't see how each challenge was building you up, how each failure was strengthening your resolve. They couldn't see how every setback was a setup for something greater, how each disappointment was leading you closer to the success you were destined for. You didn't let the failures define you. Instead, you allowed them to refine you. You took the lessons from your losses and used them as stepping stones toward your victory. What they didn't realize is that resilience is not something that is built in the spotlight. It's forged in the quiet moments, in the late nights when no one is watching, when you're struggling alone but still choosing to press on. It's the strength that comes when you are broken, but you refuse to stay down. It's the ability to keep moving forward when the world is telling you to give up. Resilience is a mindset, a belief that no matter how hard life gets, you have the power to overcome, to rise, and to emerge stronger than before. They didn't see the battles you fought in silence, the emotional wounds you healed on your own, the fears you confronted in the quiet of your heart. They didn't see how you learned to forgive, how you learned to let go of bitterness, how you learned to trust again. They couldn't understand how, after everything you've been through, you still stand tall with grace, with faith, and with strength. They thought the struggle would break you, but what they didn't know is that the struggle was building you into a force that could not be stopped. Your resilience was never about pretending to be strong in front of others. It was about choosing to remain strong when no one was watching. It was about having the courage to face the storms of life, knowing that they wouldn't last forever. You knew that this too shall pass, and on the other side of your struggle, there was a new version of you waiting to emerge. You knew that every tear you shed, every time you were knocked down, was just another chapter in your story, and the end of that story would reveal a victorious you. So when they see you now, when they see the person you become, they will be stunned. They will realize that the strength they thought you lacked was always there, quietly growing, quietly developing until it was ready to make its appearance. Your resilience will be the thing that blows their minds, the thing they never saw coming. What they didn't understand is that true strength isn't about never falling, but about always getting back up, no matter how many times life knocks you down. And now, as you rise, they will witness the power of your resilience, a power that will carry you to heights they never thought possible. They never saw the vision you were carrying. They couldn't see the dreams that were growing inside of you, waiting for the right moment to break free. While they were busy making judgments based on what they saw on the outside, they couldn't even begin to imagine the future you were quietly building in your mind and heart. They didn't see the fire that was kindling in your spirit, the burning desire to make a difference, to leave a legacy, to do something that would have lasting impact. They were focused on the present, but you were focused on the future. You were holding on to something that others couldn't see or understand your purpose. They couldn't see the greatness that was being cultivated within you because they were looking only at what was visible in the moment. They saw your struggles, your challenges, and they mistook them for signs of failure. What they didn't realize was that you were being shaped, you were being prepared, and you were being refined for something greater. While they were watching the surface, you were building the foundation of your success deep within your soul, one step at a time, one decision at a time. The dream you were carrying was never about just achieving success for yourself. It was about something much bigger than that. It was about creating a positive impact in the world, helping others and lifting them as you rise. It was about doing something that would outlast you, something that would leave a legacy for future generations. But they couldn't see that. They only saw your current situation, your present circumstances, and they didn't understand the depth of the vision you held. They couldn't see the work you were doing behind the scenes, the hours of preparation, the sacrifices, the moments when you had to choose to keep going even when it seemed like nothing was moving forward. They didn't understand that you were building more than just a career or a business. You were building a purpose-driven life, and that's what made the difference. What they saw as slow progress was actually the building of momentum, and what they thought were failures were nothing more than lessons that were shaping your character, your strategy, and your determination. The vision you carried was a blueprint for your life, and you understood that it wouldn't manifest overnight. It would take time, persistence, and trust in the process. What they didn't see was the vision that was guiding your decisions. They couldn't see the clarity you had about your future. They didn't understand that the struggles, the delays, and the setbacks were just part of the journey, not the end of the road. You knew that your vision would take time to come to fruition, but you had patience because you understood that every season had a purpose, every delay had a lesson, and every challenge had a hidden blessing. The difference between you and them was that you never lost sight of the bigger picture. They saw what was in front of them, but you saw the future. They thought you were wasting your time, that your efforts were in vain, but you understood that what you were building would one day blow their minds. It was bigger than them, bigger than anyone could understand. You were working on something that couldn't be measured by immediate results. It was something that would take time, faith, and perseverance to bring to life. When the time came, when the manifestation of your vision began to unfold, they would be astonished. They would look at you and realize that everything you were working toward, everything you believed in, everything you held on to was real. The vision that once seemed so far away would now be right in front of their eyes, and it would leave them speechless. What they didn't understand is that your ability to see beyond the present moment, to hold on to the dream, even when it seemed impossible, was what would ultimately blow their minds. They didn't see the vision, but they would soon witness the results, and those results would prove that the dream you were carrying inside of you was always worth the wait. They didn't understand the power of your consistency. They saw you working day in and day out, and they couldn't fathom what was driving you. They saw the long hours, the sacrifices, and the steady pace with which you moved toward your goals, but they couldn't grasp that your success wasn't built on shortcuts or overnight accomplishments. Your success wasn't the result of a sudden breakthrough or a quick win. It was the result of your unwavering commitment to keep showing up, even when the progress was slow, even when the rewards were not immediate. While others were waiting for the right moment, for the perfect opportunity, you understood that the key to success was not waiting for the perfect circumstances, but creating them through consistent effort. What they didn't see was that consistency was your secret weapon. It was the quiet, powerful force that kept you moving forward when everything around you seemed to be standing still. While they were looking for the grand moments, the dramatic changes, the sudden flashes of success, you were quietly laying the foundation for something far more enduring. Every single day you were doing what needed to be done, no matter how small or insignificant the task seemed. Every phone call, every email, every meeting, every moment of effort you put in was one more step toward your vision. They didn't realize that these small, seemingly inconsequential actions were actually the building blocks of your destiny. They couldn't understand that greatness is not achieved by big, bold moves alone. It is achieved through the power of small, consistent actions compounded over time. Every action you took was intentional. Every moment you worked toward your goal was a deliberate investment in your future. You knew that success wasn't a destination, it was a journey. It was about the daily habits, the choices you made, and the actions you took when no one was watching. While others waited for motivation, you relied on the discipline of consistency to carry you through. What they didn't see is that consistency is the key to transformation. It's not about making a huge leap forward every day. It's about making consistent, incremental progress that over time adds up to something extraordinary. They didn't see how your commitment to daily progress was slowly but surely shaping your future. They couldn't see the impact of your relentless persistence, the results that were beginning to take shape beneath the surface. What they missed was the fact that while they were chasing after instant results, you were building something sustainable, something that would stand the test of time. They didn't see how you kept going even when the going got tough, when the doubts crept in, and when the finish line seemed farther away than ever. They didn't see the moments when you felt like giving up, but you chose to press on. They couldn't see how the hard work you were putting in behind the scenes was quietly working in your favor. They missed the fact that your consistent actions were creating momentum, and momentum was the force that would eventually lead you to success. What they failed to see was that success wasn't about a single moment of brilliance. It was about consistently showing up, even when it felt like no one was paying attention. And so when the time comes, when your efforts start to yield results, they will look at you in awe. They will realize that while they were busy looking for shortcuts or waiting for luck to strike, you were quietly, steadily, and consistently building your future. They will see the fruits of your labor and be amazed at how far you've come. What they didn't understand is that success isn't just about talent or opportunity, it's about consistency. And now when the results speak for themselves, they will finally understand that your commitment to showing up day after day is what truly sets you apart. They will be blown away by the realization that it wasn't the big flashy moments that got you here, but the quiet, consistent work that no one saw coming. They never saw your resilience, the strength you had deep within to keep standing after every setback, every disappointment, and every obstacle. They didn't understand how you could face challenge after challenge, yet still rise again, even stronger than before. While they saw the outward appearance of struggle, they didn't know the inner fortitude you were cultivating with each difficulty you faced. You were growing, developing, and strengthening your character in ways they couldn't comprehend. They didn't understand that your journey wasn't about avoiding pain or hardship, but about learning how to overcome it and emerge victorious every single time. What they missed was the depth of your ability to endure. They thought your challenges would break you, but they didn't realize that each trial was like a refining fire, shaping you into someone more powerful, more determined, and more focused. They couldn't see how your struggles were actually the training ground for your success. Every failure was a lesson, every disappointment was a stepping stone, and every setback was a part of the blueprint that was being drawn for your ultimate success. While they thought your progress was slow or non-existent, you were actually growing stronger with every test, preparing for the breakthrough that was on the horizon. What they didn't realize was that your resilience came from an unshakable belief in your purpose. You knew that every challenge was an opportunity to prove to yourself that you could rise above. They couldn't see that your strength didn't come from avoiding difficulties. It came from facing them head on, learning from them, and using them as fuel to keep going. You understood that resilience isn't built in the absence of challenges. It's built through the act of overcoming them. And each time you overcame a challenge, you not only got stronger, but you became more prepared for the next level of your journey. Your resilience wasn't about being unbreakable. It was about learning how to bend without breaking. It was about finding the strength to keep going even when everything around you seemed uncertain, even when you felt like you were running on empty. You kept moving forward, not because it was easy, but because you knew you were destined for something greater. They didn't see the internal battles you fought, the quiet struggles that no one knew about. They didn't understand that your ability to keep going was powered by something deeper than circumstance. It was powered by your unwavering faith in your calling and in yourself. They couldn't see how your ability to keep going through adversity was setting the stage for the greatest moments of your life. They saw your struggles as weaknesses, not knowing that they were the training ground for your triumphs. While they were looking at the surface, you were going through the fire and emerging with a greater sense of clarity, purpose, and strength. What they didn't understand was that every single setback, every challenge, and every moment of struggle was contributing to your resilience, making you more equipped to handle what was coming next.